Hello and welcome back to the X-Files Revisited. We are going to be talking about episode 15 of season 5, Travelers, which, as you mentioned last time, is a kind of flashback episode. Which, which is, we've done that previously before with Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man.
Yeah, and we did it as well with the Lone Gunman one at the beginning of this season. So, yeah.
And to be honest, I've enjoyed those, so when you said that, it kind of gave me some hope this was going to be good.
Yeah,
Shall we do
the difference with those, of course, is that we spend all of our time in the flashbacks with the characters that we know and love. So, yeah. Go on. Where do you think this one sits? 217 episodes.
217 episodes, X-Files fans being a little bit fickle, as we know they can be. I'm going to go 109.
109. Turns out they may be even more fickle than you think. It's 150.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So this is...
It's not a well-liked episode.
No, not based on the IMDb ranking at any rate. Anyway, now, it goes without saying that one should take anything on IMDb with a pinch of salt. But just according to IMDb users, the ones that vote at any rate, the ones that take the time to vote, this is 150, ranked 150 out of 217 episodes, which,
wow.
Like, I'm not going to come right out and say this is one of my favorite episodes ever, but I do think that score is whack. To say that episodes like Dodd Calm are above this, well, I don't even need to list anymore. Dodd Calm is above this. That alone is, to me, that is just, right. Okay then.
Yeah.
Should we get into
that bombshell? I'm sorry. Dodd Calm.
Yeah. Oh man.
You need to be careful when you mention these kind of episodes because it kind of throws me into a PTSD of like flashbacks to these things.
Field where I died. Every time. So the trick is, can we get a mention for the field where I died in every single episode?
Well, if there's a voiceover, we will shoehorn it in,
Right. Anyway, we kick off. It's 1990, and a sheriff pulls up to a house that looks, well, dilapidated. It's a
fixer-upper.
It's a fixer. It's a bit of a fixer-upper. He's there with this other guy, the landlord, to evict some old guy that's there. They go in, they're immediately hit with smells and cockroaches, and it just looks like a landlord's worst nightmare, basically. So they go upstairs, and there's a body in the bathtub. And then the name of someone that I don't know because I can't read my own writing gets shot. So, Kurt, is it Kurt? Skurs.
Yes.
I think, yes. I just remember that then because it's such a weird name. It's like Skurs.
One of the main characters of the episode.
So, Mr. Skurs gets shot when he kind of makes one of them jump, makes the sheriff jump kind of thing. And just as he's kind of fading out, dying, he says to the sheriff, Moulder. And then we go to opening credits. So
I think it's a pretty good, solid opening. You get a little bit of fright, a little bit of atmosphere. You get that really good effect of the kind of mummified body. And then of course Moulder, which, as we're all thinking, well, that's Fox, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and just the fact that it takes place in 1990 does, I think, build some intrigue because you're like, oh, okay, the events that take place in this are going to have a history. Not knowing that after the credits, we're going to go back into history and stay there pretty much.
It's the Russian nesting dolls of episodes, like a flashback and a flashback.
Inception. Okay. So Moulder knocks, our Moulder, that is, Fox Moulder, knocks on the door of Arthur Dales, played by none other than Kolchak, the Night Stalker himself. So he's come as a profiler, because bearing in mind, this is still 1990. This is when, he's kind of just sniffing around the X-Files. He's kind of like looking into him, but at the moment he's still kind of a profiler. That's still his main port of call. And he's come to ask about Edward Skurs. Arthur investigated Skurs as an X-File. Moulder wants to know why Skurs knew his name. The case file has been censored, and Arthur points him to the communist witch hunt.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. It's not really a right lot to go on there. Just we do make the assumption right off the bat that this is about Fox and not his dad. I think so.
But it's that this guy just like I do like the actor. I think he's got that crazy old man persona just nailed down. The way he just creaks open the door, and I just feel like there's a great deal of knowledge to come from this guy. So I was surprised when the door gets slammed shut and he walks away.
Yeah,
I was waiting on the guy like opening the door after that. Yeah, going like, come on. But,
it's like, hey, it's Darren McGavin. Oh,
yeah.
Bye. So Moulder is watching the communist trials that they did way back in the 50s.
Yep.
Where nothing was found, apparently. And it's just as he's watching them, he spots someone on the tape and he winds it back and he looks, and we're looking and we're like, what's he looking at? And then he suddenly goes, Dad. So, it's his dad on the tape. He was there during the communist witch hunts. So
just remind me, I'm not sure if I'm forgetting it, it's when he's at the door that he mentions that they found nothing. Is it that point, or is that the next time he goes to the door?
Yes. So he said they found nothing, didn't he? So he was at the door. When he was at the door last time, he kind of...
Which is such a great point. And how can they have this big investigation and find absolutely nothing?
Yeah.
It just kind of leads on that conspiracy theorist kind of thing. So yeah.
So he goes back to Arthur, and Arthur challenges Moulder by saying, you must have had your suspicions when you came last time. So why didn't you bring them up then? Why, and why didn't you mention them yesterday? So inside, Arthur begins to tell Moulder about Skurs. Moulder smokes, which I just found hilarious. It's like it's just lighting up a cig, like it's just.
But it looks unnatural. He looks uncomfortable doing it as well.
Yeah. He doesn't look like William B. Davis, who obviously so Davis used to smoke quite heavily in his earlier years, but he gave up smoking, and he'd been off fags for years. And then obviously got the part in the X-Files and then had this. But he looks like a natural because he was a natural at one point. So, so Moulder's smoking and Arthur starts regaling him with this story, which takes us into these flashbacks where Dales and his partner are looking for communists. So that was their job, basically. They had to go around, investigate people, try and find out whether they were communists, and then bring them in. So it's we catch them just as they're doing just that. So they go to this house and they arrest this man named Skurs while his wife and kids look on. It's having that element of having the wife and the kids look on that kind of really, and I feel like this episode would be, if it got released today or maybe like 2 years ago, it would feel even more relevant, a lot more relevant than it did back when it first came out. If you think about the mentality of people these days, particularly around the events of COVID and whatnot, and everyone kind of turning on each other. Have you had your vaccine? It's like anti-vaxxers versus vaxxers and all that. And it just, I feel like it would hit a lot harder being released today than it did back then. And seeing the guy being taken away while his wife and his kids look on, when, as we've already stated at the beginning of the episode, they found nothing. So,
but I kind of liked this sequence because, it's the picturesque house, the white picket fence, and they go up and chat the door, and the wife's in a kind of flowery dress and baking and whatever, and they're just like, yeah, we're here to see Mr. Skurs. And then as soon as he appears, they just change, they barge in, throw him against the wall and start handcuffing him. But I also like the tail end of it, just as the partner's taking him away. And you get that moment of Dale's just looking at the family, almost apologising and kind of realising, he's not just a mindless machine. He feels a little bit emotive in this sequence. He feels for the family, which I kind of like, because it ingratiates me straight onto the character immediately.
Yeah, he's just doing his job, and a lot of people do a lot of bad things for the best reasons, because they buy into an ideology. They do something because they've been told this is the right thing. They do something because they're told those people are the bad guys, and they get spoon-fed enough stuff to warrant believing that. I think it's a really cold, hard lesson that we could do with kind of paying attention to even today. It's just like so much hatred flying around because people have an opinion and that's it. And it's like, I've got to nest myself into that opinion now, because the people who have that opinion are the good guys, and the ones who don't, they're the bad guys. And it's
you kind of see that you can see the similarities between Dale and Moulder. They question everything. They want facts. They're not just running away with things or doing as they're told. They have an individual mindset.
Yeah, they're independent from the system to a degree. I like the production design on this as well. Taken as, because it does take you to, like, once you're into these flashbacks for like 10 minutes or so, like, for me at any rate, I'm in this world. I'm in the 50s. Like, it's quite jarring when you first go to it, because we're not used to seeing this kind of thing in the X-Files. We're certainly not used to seeing it and then staying there. So going from like 1990 and then suddenly, boom, we're in the 50s. It's like that. It's a bit jarring at first, but once we've been in this 50s setting for a good 5 or 10 minutes, I'm just there, and that's in no small part thanks to the really good job they've done on production, like getting all the vintage cars and the wardrobe and the set dressings and all that. So yeah, it's a great job. But so we'll go from there to the Hoot Owl Bar, where Dales goes for a drink. He gets a call at the bar, and it's his partner. So this is like clearly a hangout for all the local, like, PD or FBI and all that kind of thing. So his partner knows exactly where he's going to be. So his partner calls him at the bar, tells him that Skurs is dead and supposedly killed himself in his cell. All right. Okay. Bit like how Epstein killed himself in his cell, is it? Dale's parked outside Skurs' residence. He aims to tell his wife about her husband. He looks really downcast about it. But then who should show up but Edward Skurs?
Without a care in the world, just walking down
just
the
like, So a pursuit ensues, then a fight, and then a weird ass kind of creature starts coming out of Skurs' mouth. Disturbed, Edward flees the scene. So yeah, there's like a car goes past us. Oh no, somebody shouts, don't they?
Like, I think the guy's putting the trash out or something.
Yeah. So he does a runner.
But great effects. Great
Yeah.
effects all the way through this episode. Great effects.
Yeah, and it reminds me of a recent Batman story as well. So in Batman comics, recent years, there was a villain called Hugh Vile. The name's a bit on the nose, a vile human being. So yeah, it just looks like this. He has this thing that comes out of his mouth, and it just looks like this. So yeah, kind of reminded me of that. But at the office, Dale's partner tells him to leave Skurs' name out of his report, as photos clearly show he died in his cell, but Arthur has already filed his report. Then he receives a phone call. Dun, dun, dun.
Yep.
So the phone call takes it. Basically, he leaves after receiving this phone call, and he ends up at the Justice Department,
Yeah.
where this sleazy as anything special assistant to the Attorney General
Yep.
all but tells him to amend his report. So his partner said, "Don't put that in your report. We'll look stupid. He's dead. Let it go." He files the report, and then he's called in, and he says, "Actually, take that out of your report." It's like, okay.
Well, I like the fact that this guy, for the longest moment, has a conversation without moving a muscle of his face. You know, he just stares at Dale, and Dale just kind of infers everything from this and has like a one-way conversation with the man, which was absolutely like brilliant. I thought it was brilliant. It was hilarious, and it just kind of shows you the power that this man had, the authority that he had.
Such a slime bag, though. This guy just oozes slime bag.
Yeah.
So Dales does just that. He amends the report before his partner comes for him. They drive to a house at Chevy Chase. I just thought Chevy Chase was a person. I didn't realize his name was clearly taken from a place. So I'm assuming Chevy Chase is his stage name, and he's like,
I would assume so.
Yeah. I like the sound of that. Chevy Chase. I'm going to use that as my okay. Either that or he just had cruel parents. But so they drive to this house at Chevy Chase, and a record plays. It's the house of what the partner refers to as a well-connected kraut. It's like this German doctor, basically, a dead kraut, a well-connected kraut. Dales finds a beer mat with a message to meet on it, which presumably was meant for him.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
although it does feel a bit like so many things can go wrong with that message.
What if Dales didn't get the message? What if his partner got the message? What if they weren't even the investigating officers that would turn up for it?
What if the police officers did turn up first?
So it's all a bit all right. Whatever. So hedging your bets a bit there, but we'll move on. So back to the bar to meet Bill Moulder.
Yeah.
Dun, dun. He claims that Skurs will kill him. Tells him Skurs, Gissing, and Oberman are patriots, not communists. Gissing and Oberman killed themselves because they couldn't handle what they became. So we got Bill Moulder, Moulder's dad, acting as Deep Throat, kind of being an informant. Telling Dales that so there was 3 men. Skurs the last of the 3. The other 2 have supposedly died at their own hand because they didn't like what they've become. Now, what they become is clearly like we've seen what Skurs is now with that thing in his mouth, which begs the question: when did they become that? How did they become that? Clearly, they were human before, and they've become something else since.
Like it's maybe the one kind of failing of the episode, I suppose, but we never really find out what that is. But I'm pretty sure whatever answer we got would have been unfulfilling anyway. Like, kind of
I think we get enough of an answer to figure out what's gone on here. Like clearly,
I understand some sort of experiments being done and things that were placed inside them to change them, but I have no idea what that thing is inside them or what it does.
Yeah.
So like that kind of idea. But any answer I got for that would have been deeply unfulfilling. You know what I mean? Like I wanted an answer, but I knew it would have been crap.
And it's not necessary because we are in the world of the X-Files. We know there's some creepy ass crap out there, and we know that if the government gets their hands on that creepy ass crap, they're going to do all manner of things with it.
So put it inside you.
Yeah, because why not? Okay, so Skurs breaks into Dale's partner's apartment just as Bill tells him that Skurs most likely thinks that Dales and his partner are in on the conspiracy that created him. Dales tries to call his partner, who is being attacked at that very moment by Skurs and the spider mouth. So, yeah.
I think the partner scene is pretty terrific because it's one of
with
those
his
sequences.
cat.
Yeah, you know what's going to happen, but they kind of stretch it out and they keep cutting back to him setting his beard down, knocking it over, something watching him, putting the gun down. You're like, oh,
you're gonna need that.
And it's just really well put together and drawing out that tension. I thought was terrific.
Yeah, and I just like the fact that this guy is at home alone with his cat. Like he doesn't have a partner. He's not got a wife or anything like that. He's a cat guy, and it's just it's not something you would expect to see. Like it kind of breaks the hardened FBI man kind of stereotype that we see. Like I might expect this guy to have a dog,
okay, but not a cat.
But not a cat. It's like there's something a little bit more. Like I could imagine a woman going home alone to her cat. I don't like, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying like, oh, if you're a lone man who has a cat, then you whatever. I'm a cat person. I love cats. I'd have a cat myself if I lived on my own.
It's a kind of like low maintenance pet, isn't
it? Yeah. So it just adds something to an otherwise nothing character. Like normally I think we would have this guy go home, get a beer from the fridge, start watching TV, and it's just like, all right. But it's like just throwing that little element of the cat that he looks after, it kind of endears him to you because this is a guy who does care. He cares about something in his life. There is something that he shows love to and cares for. And it's a nice touch that could go overlooked So so toxicology report to toxicology. Yeah, that was it. There's a line dropped and he said, we'll get the toxicology report back in 6 to 8 weeks. Can you imagine CSI crime scene investigation these days? If we just waited on toxicology report, should be about 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, and I had a feeling that was a rush job.
Yeah. So, Special Assistant Cohen, the creepy guy, the sleazebag, has the body taken away, threatens Dales when he tries to stop him. So,
yeah, the first conversation he says nothing. This conversation he just flat out says it. You look like a collie.
Yeah, you are. If I say you are, yeah.
He alludes to the fact that it's just all just crap, like the whole witch hunt. The call me threats and all that nonsense. It's just he just alludes to the fact that it's just smokescreen to get rid of people they want to get rid of.
Yeah, it's a broken system. So, but it also kind of. It highlights the real kind of struggle that Dales has as a character in this episode, which is that he's always torn between doing what he's told by his superiors and doing the right thing. And so far, every step of the way, he's done what he's told by his superiors. He amended the report. He let the body of his partner go without kind of stopping it and forcing them to do a proper investigation. So at the moment, this is a man who he's not quite getting there. He's not quite doing the fully moral thing, and that's what his journey is, I think, in this episode. So,
but it's also a time and place. This doesn't feel like a place where he could really push back against authority. He would just disappear.
Yeah. So Dales decides to look into the other two men that Bill Moulder mentioned.
Yeah.
The file with their names in is all censored. It just begs the question, why even have this file? Because it's like they've literally blacked out everything but like 3 sentences that's on there. It's
3 names, pretty much. Is just
like why bother? Why bother? Seriously. So the secretary woman says it was to protect the identity of the witness. We'll then black out the identity of the witness and black out like the entire report. So the secretary points Dales to the X-Files, in which Gissing's name appears.
And it's like a little way of introducing kind of what the X-Files were back then, how they get started. You know, they don't fit under U because it was already too much there, but there was plenty of space in the X. So it's fun.
It's pretty cool. So I mean,
how she remembered that name in that file, though, I have no idea.
It was a different era. They didn't have computers back then. They had to be good at the job. They had to store information and be like, if somebody needs that, that's what separated the good secretaries from the bad ones, isn't it? So but okay. Gissing's body is still in the morgue, so Dales asks for an autopsy, please. To which the
demands it.
He demands it, and the guy in the morgue's like, I
love this sequence. I found this hilarious, Brian, because the guy's like, no, I don't think we should, and he's just like, and then the next minute the chest cavities burst open and they're like, they've got their hands inside. And I'm just like, that was just funny.
So Dales tells Skurs' wife that he knows he's alive and he wants to help him tell his story.
Oh yeah, just before you jump on back to that autopsy sequence.
It's gross.
It's crawling out of the So they see the suitors and the other suitors, and they kind of see this thing crawling, and that's what made me go like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah,
I wanted to know more, but at the same time, I didn't.
That's some real Hannibal Lecter type stuff there, in it.
And it's a wonderful effect
into somebody's body. It's like,
and it's. I think what's really gross is it's huge. Like, it's not like something small, like a chip in the back of the neck. This is like some kind of monster in your throat. Horrible.
Yeah,
horrible.
Grim. Okay. So Dales goes to tell Skurs' wife that he knows, and he wants to help him tell his story. You see at first she's a bit like, don't trust this guy, but then just because of the warmth of Dales, I guess, and the way that he presents the case, you can see that she's like, oh, actually this guy could be our ticket to getting some real help. So he gets picked up by Cohen and Bill. So he leaves the house, sees the woman, and they just kind of rock up like typical government types, all but saying, "Get in the van." It's like, and
there's a little moment there where it's like just before he gets in the car, he pauses, as if like, is this me? Is this me done now? Am I going to and then the guy's just like, just get in.
Yeah.
Like, but it's said in a way like, we're not killing you yet. Like, like, everything's kind of unfair with this character.
We just want to talk. Get in. Stop messing about. Yeah. So Mrs. Skurs goes into the nuclear shelter out the back and seriously regrets it. So her husband's hiding away in there, and he's basically he's losing control now. Whatever this thing is that's inside him, it's taking over, and he kills his wife. So the director of the FBI, which I'm assuming is Hoover, so we only see him in shadow.
Yeah, it has to be.
So he's in shadow. He's quite a chubby guy, a bit like J. Edgar Hoover. So I'm assuming
got a dress on.
Yeah. I'm assuming this is Hoover. He comes off like the Nazi whilst telling Dales to serve his country. So Hoover never comes off that well, does he, in film and television?
No.
It's pretty much a given that this guy was a dick. So Dales gets dropped off for his meeting with Skurs, so they want him to go in, have his meeting that he was supposed to have, and then once they know he's there, they'll come in and arrest him. You just go in there, make sure it's him, confirm it's him, and we'll be right behind you. Right behind you. So yeah, I love that he potentially drops Moulder in it. So the telling, I can't remember how the conversation goes, but he says something along the lines of, "You didn't mention this when you came to see me the other day." And then like Bill Moulder's like, and his partner, the guy who's with Bill Moulder's like, "What?" So that it kind of clues you into that maybe Bill was there in good faith. Maybe Bill was trying to give him information because, like, when he drops that bombshell about having already seen Bill Moulder in that bar, his partner looks a bit suspect, and Bill looks a bit panicky, like, no, shut up. So it's like, yeah, okay, because the inference otherwise, if that isn't the case, is that Bill went there to give him this information to set him up, and that was the plan of those government guys. So yeah, okay. So Dales goes inside, has a conversation with Skurs that turns messy really quickly. Turns into a bit of a fight. The guys in the van can hear all this going on, and they're just not moving. They're basically waiting for Dales to get killed.
Oh, I think Moulder goes to make a move and gets a little head shake. Nope.
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Yeah. So so it all goes quiet. Moulder and the other guy go running in, and it turns out that Dales has managed to handcuff Skurs and kind of get out from under him. And yeah, so basically they're forced to kind of take this guy in, and so
they can't shoot a handcuffed man as much as they would like to.
Yeah. So
it's good thinking on Dale's behalf.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we go back to the present, and Fox Moulder is shocked to learn of his dad's involvement. But did Bill let Skurs go in the hope that the truth might come out? Because Dale says that, Skurs was able to escape apparently after that time, and he infers that Bill Moulder was the one to let him go. This is my only trouble with the episode. Is all that Dales has to go on to make that assumption that it was Bill who let him go is, one, the fact that he escaped, and two, the possibility, not the absolute certainty, but the possibility that Bill Moulder was in that bar in good faith trying to feed him information. I feel like he infers way too much goodness into Bill Moulder's character based off that one interaction. And what we see at the end, because we physically see Bill letting this guy go, I have trouble with us seeing that because we don't know.
Yeah.
This is all Dale's perspective. So I feel like it's almost like you're trying to let Bill Moulder off the hook here. You're trying to humanize him, because he was never the most humanized character, was he? All the interactions we saw with him and Fox and everything since, he's always been quite a cold character, quite a hardened character. I feel like this is an attempt in some way to kind of humanize him a bit, give him a softer side, but it's all from Dale's perspective. So showing us this rather than just having Dale's say what he thinks to Moulder, it's almost like a confirmation. It's almost like it's saying, yeah, what Dale's is saying is true, but there's no way for him to know that for sure. So I think it was a mistake to show it us visually.
It is probably, but I do understand kind of why Dale's thinks that way, and especially why he's saying it to Moulder's son. Like, I could understand it. So yeah, they probably don't need to show it, but I didn't find it overly egregious.
No, I wouldn't say overly egregious. Like, I wouldn't say drop this episode below Dodd Calm egregious. Which brings us to our wrap ups. I I'll go first on this one.
Sure.
I think those voters are smoking crack. I think to say that this is considerably worse than Dodge Calm, to say that this is in like almost in the bottom quarter of episodes is preposterous. I understand why people might not enjoy it as much because there's no Scully, there's very little Moulder. But as far as a really well told story that's nicely played, that has really good production design, looks beautiful, as a standalone story, it's really good. I enjoyed it, and I think it really, I don't know, it felt more relevant watching it now after the past few years than it did even back then. Like, I mean, I watched this as a kid and didn't really know anything about communists and that. It was all like sketchy stuff. And I think I said to you last episode that this was one that I've never really enjoyed all that much and never really gone back to all that much. And I think that's probably why, is that when I first watched this, I couldn't have told you the first thing about communism and what all the McCarthy stuff was about and all that. Coming to it as an adult, understanding all that stuff more, and just appreciating a good story well told, irrespective of whether it's getting rid of my favorite characters from my favorite show, it's still a really good story, well told. So for me, I almost want to give it a 4.5 out of 5, but I'm going to go with a 4, I think. Just because there is no Moulder and Scully, it does feel like it's from another show in that regard. But as far as just a standalone episode goes, it's a good story. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I am a 4.5 on this one. I loved this episode. I wish this was a pilot to a whole spin-off series.
Oh, yes.
I would have loved to have explored more of this, watching Dale's kind of go, even if it was like a case of Moulder going back to see him, like making a connection, and Dale's tells him some other kind of story or something.
That is to come.
Right. So, like, I found this fantastic, from the production to the story to the gore and the effects to the swapping out aliens for communists. That's the kind of like thing of the time. It was great. The effects, I thought, were absolutely wonderful. That coming out of the mouth is just horrendous. Everything about it was fun. I absolutely loved it. And to be honest, I could probably easily give it a 5 because I don't really find faults with it. It's just that looking at some of the other episodes in this season are better, but it's continuing what I think.
You know what?
The best season.
My initial instinct when we're talking about it, and even when I finished, what was like, I was verging on 4.5, and I honestly can't really think of a reason why it shouldn't be. I'm going to go with a 4.5. I think you're right. I think I should have trusted my instincts. I don't understand this being so low. I really don't.
No.
I can't get my head around the people that vote on that on the IMDb voting thing.
Yeah.
Because some of the episodes I see on that are way above this, where I'm thinking, dude, that's like bottom 10 easy.
I'd honestly give me the X-Files Origins series. With these characters. I was so in.
Yeah, I'd have gone with this over the Lone Gunman show, and I'm sure some people consider that heresy, but just the setting, the 50s setting, and having the technology they had back then to try and do the job that we do now, that'd just be really interesting. And like, I know that apparently Ryan Coogler is currently working on a new X-Files show. Whether it actually comes about, I don't know. Everything I've heard about it so far makes me think I'd rather not, thanks. But if they were going to do an X-Files show, why not Arthur Dales? Why not, instead of rebooting it in the sense of, let's start from scratch and recast Moulder and Scully and all that, keep it in that world. Go back in time, have Bill Moulder, have Arthur Dales, because then you're offering something to the diehard X-Files fans that instantly ties them into the mythology they've followed for so long. And you're creating something new and different to the original show for new fans. You know, having it like Mad Men meets X-Files. I'd be well up for that.
Yeah, I would have loved that. So yeah, well, it didn't happen, but maybe it still might. But yeah, terrific episode. I would really enjoy this one. So tell me a little bit about the next episode, Mind's Eye.
So it guest stars, what's her name? I want to call her Lily Tomlin.
Yeah, that sounds right. That is an actress.
Yeah, I always
She was
get
in The Haunting, and
yes. So Lily Tomlin. So it guest stars Lily Tomlin is a blind woman who sees visions, and it's one that I think I never fully appreciated way back when. I think it is quite well liked from what I gather, but
Mhm.
as a teenager, I was probably in the camp that didn't quite understand why it was so well liked. Not that it was bad, probably
Mhm.
solid, but I'm interested to revisit it because I think it'll be again like after this one that we've just watched, coming back to them at a different
Mhm.
age, different experience, and viewing them with fresh eyes can often really change things. So
Yeah.
definitely not a bad episode though. So
Okay. So just you know what, I want to just touch on something quickly
Mhm.
about Travellers, which I didn't mention.
Go on.
I am a huge fan of Scully. She's like probably my favorite character of the show. I did not miss her at all.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah. It made me not really, I was so engrossed with the story. I didn't
Mhm.
miss that main character who wasn't there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Agreed.
thank you for listening on whichever podcast service you choose or watching us on YouTube. We'd appreciate a like, a review. It would really help other people discover our passion for the X-Files. And we will see you next episode where we talk about Mind's Eye.